Italian Wine Podcast. Chin Chin with Italian wine people.
Hello, you're listening to the Italian Wine Podcast with me, Monty Waldin, and today's guest is Carlo Franchetti. Carlo, I'm going to let you explain exactly what you do in wine in Tuscany.
Okay, well, thank you for having me, Monty. It's a pleasure to be here. As you know, I wear many hats, but my main hat is marketing manager of Tenuta di Trinoro, which is our winemaking estate in Tuscany, in Val d'Orcia, not too far south from Montalcino, just to put the place in context. I also look after our other winery, which is called Passo Pisciaro in Sicily, and I've recently become a winemaker myself with a Pinot Noir project in Tuscany, very nearby Tenuta di Trinoro.
So your vineyard in the Val d'Orcia is the Orcha Valley, made famous in the Gladiator film. A lot of filming done in the Orcha Valley, sexy shots of Russell Crowe standing in fields of barley, right? But you're a little bit higher up than that, aren't you?
Yes, I'm actually, with my Pinot Noir, I'm not in Val d'Orcia. Tenuta di Trinoro is in Val d'Orcia. I'm up on a hill, basically on a ridge line that separates the very southern part of Tuscany from Umbria. I almost straddle the border with Umbria.
Okay, so that must be quite a cool spot, right?
It is. It's high up. The top of the ridge is 800 meters of altitude. The vineyards that I've planted are at 650 meters. I'm looking to plant some more at 700 meters and on the north side of the hill where I am. At the moment, I'm on the south side. I'm pretty happy with the results I'm getting, but I think I can get even more finesse and elegance by moving further higher up on the north side.
What is it about your family that always wants to push everything to the extreme?
Well, the world is awash with lots of wine. I think, especially if you're a small producer, you want to make something special. And to make something special, you got to push the limits. You can't make something that everybody does. Otherwise, you're dead from moment one. And also, we're fond of special things, special places, beauty. We come from a family which is a very artistic family. We've been art collectors and art dealers for 2 centuries, starting in Venice. And we were attracted to the beauty of Tuscany, and we want to get a bit of that beauty in the wine that we're making. I think that the magic of a place is very important, and you get that in the wine if you are in a special place and you get a special wine.
Okay, so just give me a quick glimpse of what your Pinot Noir tastes like from these very high sites on the border with Umbria,
Okay.
Tuscany.
Well, obviously, they're a bit more robust, a little bit more concentrated than the Burgundy Pinot Noirs, but without taking it too far, it's not a big fruit Pinot Noir as some of the older Californian Pinot Noirs tended to be.
It's a little bit firmer, you mean?
It's a little bit firmer, yeah. A little bit richer than your average Burgundy. It's like a bit of like a pomard in a big year.
Okay, so let's go back to the original estate that your family founded was the Tenuta di Trinoro.
That's right.
Tell me a little bit about the history and how you got involved with the rest of the family.
Tenuta di Trinoro, let's say, take a step back, is the brainchild of my cousin Andrea Franchetti. He really started the wine business, the family wine business, back in the early 90s. He started out as a wine importer, an importer of top French Bordeaux wines, his passion, and top Italian wines in New York. This was in the 80s. And it was a very exciting moment because it was a period in which the super Tuscans were becoming famous, and everybody was talking about them. And
like Sassicaia,
that's right, Masseto, Tignanello, Ornellaia was just starting. So, but basically what that meant was that finally Bordeaux grapes grown in Italy were gaining acceptance on the international market. And that was good news for Andrea because his big love is for Bordeaux. And so he had this fantastic estate in Val d'Orcia, Tenuta di Trinoro, which has very similar conditions to Montalcino. We're just 50 kilometers south of Montalcino. So very similar microclimate and very similar soil conditions to Montalcino. And Andrea figured that he would probably make a very interesting Bordeaux blend in that area.
It's a very isolated estate, isn't it? To get there requires a bit of luck.
Yes, but that's part of the beauty of it, I guess. But that's really a coincidence. Andrea bought this estate in the 70s.
Was it a sheep?
It was not. It was completely abandoned. You got to keep in mind that in Italy in the 60s and 70s, the countryside was abandoned by farmers, and they all went to the cities, and all these little farms and abandoned estates fell into disrepair. And Andrea found it, and what he loved about this place was its remoteness, the fact that it was so far away in such pristine pristine natural surroundings, and it was a place to get away from the madness of the 70s in Rome and New York and the big cities, and he loved just this fact that it was going back to basics. And then it was the ideal place to start this new winemaking adventure when he decided to move on to that.
Okay, and tell me about the family interest in Sicily, Passo Pisciaro. What does that mean, first of all, Passo Pisciaro?
Passo Pisciaro. Passo Pisciaro is a Sicilian term. It means the fisherman's pass, because it's a little town high up on Etna at about 800 meters of elevation, and that's as far up the mountain as the fish cellar would go. And so it was known as the fish seller's pass, the Passo del Pesciaro, fish cellar. Andrea's always been very fond of Sicily. He would go and spend time there in the summer, spend holidays there. On one of his trips around exploring the countryside of Sicily, he ended up at Passo Pisciaro and discovered an incredible place with incredible wine making potential. And he saw all these century-old vineyards abandoned to themselves, which were just being kept alive by local farmers for making local wine. And he saw this as an incredible opportunity to start a new wine adventure with century-old vineyards. This was in 2000, so very, very recently. And to find those conditions, and of course, everybody was willing to sell because they thought only a crazy man would want to buy these old vineyards, which for them were ripe to be taken out and replaced.
Because they couldn't sell the wine, right? They weren't making any money, or
they didn't understand the potential. I think they didn't know any better. Basically, what had happened, that was an area that had a long tradition and history of winemaking that dates back to several centuries. And in fact, if you go there, you see you see these wine cellars, fantastic, these bagli, and it's full of them. And now, obviously, they're all being bought up and restored. But they're the testament of a glorious past. And in fact, Nerello Mascalese is very interesting because this is the local grape that grows on Etna and that we're making wine with there, is very reminiscent of Pinot Noir. And what they were doing before the Great War, the Second World War, there was a thriving business for exporting Nerello Mascalese wine to Burgundy to fortify the French wines. I mean, the French, they will never admit to this, but that
sort of thing never happened. The wine business is full of honest people.
Exactly, but that was what was happening. And then, of course, the Second World War interrupted this business, and then it just never recovered. It was a gradual decline all the way to 2000, when my cousin Andrea chanced upon this area and started buying as many old vineyards as he could get his hands on at ridiculous prices by today's standards, and making this wine. And at the beginning, he had a little difficulty figuring out what to make of this wine, because there wasn't anything interesting to taste, because the only wine that was being made was local wine by local farmers, so very rough wine. And so in the beginning, he was trying to make kind of a super Sicilian, the equivalent of a super Tuscan in Sicily. But after a couple of years of trying to do that, he figured out that he was going the wrong way, and instead, this was not a grape that was fit for making that super concentrated, super rich, structured wine. And he realized that he was barking up the wrong tree and changed directions, went the Burgundy way, and the rest is, history.
So basically, your family loves isolation. I'm amazed we got you into the studio today, because all of you are like the far-flung reaches of the possibility of growing wine on Planet Wine. So amazing. You're actually wearing a suit. I thought you'd turn up in some sort of sackcloth with a beard, but you're clean-shaven, very smart, urbane.
Well, we're not natural wine producers. In fact, we're old-fashioned winemaking school. We like our wines to be clean and transparent and polished and ship-shape. So no, I think you got the wrong image there. We like our wines to taste good and to look good.
Carlo Franchetti, thanks for coming in to explain your very complex but fascinating family history and wine. I wish you every success with your Pinot Noir, and I look forward to visiting you in Tuscany at some stage. I'll turn up, but I'll be as smart as I can when I turn up. Okay?
Thank you. I look forward to it.
Nice to have you on the show. Thanks.
Thank you.
Follow us at Italian Wine Podcast on Facebook.